to be able to look at it later, maybe share it. There's my reminder to record. These are our community agreements. We hope that you'll be active participants. One mic means just not talking over folks if we do have some conversations, respecting each other's voices and opinions. We want you to be curious and ask questions, and if you're able to come on camera. So that's not just my face up here. Yes, Mr. Alex.
Before we proceed, I just have to give a disclaimer that I am a social work student and an intern with Fab Youth Philly, and I go to Westchester University, and I'm going to take notes on this webinar. It's purely for a learning experience, and basically the important part of this is that it's possible that I might be sharing some of the information in this with my classroom. And it's purely just when we have class, they'll say, what did you do with your internship this week? And I might talk about this experience, and I'll change names, and nothing's going to be too personal. So if anybody has any questions about that.
Awesome, thank you, Mr. Alex. So before we start, I'm just going to go over some predictions, assumptions, and disclaimers. We do this with all of our workshops just to kind of set the tone a little bit. So I predict that some of you may be different ages, so some of the information I share tonight will be, it might be applicable, it might not be applicable depending on your age. I assume that you'll have some questions, so feel free to use the chat or come off mute at any time. Mr. Kevin, my colleague here, is also going to help monitor the chat a little bit. So if I don't catch anything, he'll let me know. A disclaimer, I did not get my driver's license in Pennsylvania. I've never worked at the DMV, so everything that we go over tonight is purely just comes from research and gathering some information that I found. But I am a licensed driver in New Jersey. So getting your driver's license in Pennsylvania, there's kind of three steps to getting your full unrestricted license. So you start with your junior learner's permit. You have to be 16 years old to get that, to apply for it. You visit your local PennDOT office. PennDOT is the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation. So you visit your local PennDOT office. You can go online and just search locations for that to take a vision screening and knowledge test. So the vision screening is just to make sure that you're able to see the road once you're driving. You can have glasses. I drive with glasses. You can, you don't have to have perfect vision, but on your actual driver's license, it will say if you wear glasses. So my license says that I need glasses to drive. If I don't have my glasses, I cannot see. So there is that note on some licenses. The knowledge test, it includes 18 multiple choice questions that cover PA traffic laws and safe driving practices. To pass the knowledge test, you have to answer at least 15 questions right, or get the 83% passing score. So that's the vision screening and knowledge test, and that's before you even get your learner's permit. You need to have parent or guardian consent. So there's a specific form that you need to print out or pick up from the PennDOT office and get a parent or guardian's consent to apply for your learner's permit. You also need to have a signed form from your doctor or physician that authorizes that you're healthy enough to drive. I'm not sure what healthy actually means, but probably just a physical, just to make sure that you're okay to drive there. And then with your learner's permit, you can only drive with an adult who is 21 years or older. Questions about the learner's permit. So you need to be 16, you need to have parent consent, you need to pass a couple tests, get doctors authorized by your doctor. All right, so moving on to your junior driver's license. To get that, you need to have your permit for at least 6 months, and you must have a signed certificate of completion for 65 hours of behind the wheel practice. And so that it allows you, your junior driver's license allows you to drive unsupervised, but with some restrictions. You cannot drive more than one passenger under the age of 18 years old. So you can drive with adults, but you can't drive anyone that's under 18. So you can't get all your friends and drive around together. Got someone in the waiting room, 1 second. Welcome. Nice to have you here. We're just getting started. We went over the junior learner's permit and we're on to the junior driver's license. So again, to get your junior driver's license, you need to have had your permit for at least 6 months. The regular unrestricted driver's license, this is the fully unrestricted. You must be 17 and a half years old. You must have completed a driver education course and have no driving violations or at-fault accidents within that past year. So at-fault accidents means that you were the person that may have caused the accident. You're at fault. If it's someone else's fault, then that's okay. But at-fault accidents means that you're the one that caused the accident. And then you must have held your junior driver's license for at least a year, and then you must pass the road test. So Angel, I see your question. If you haven't gotten your permit yet, so that's this first box here. So getting your junior learner's permit, you must be 16 years old to do that. So you have to get your permit before you can get your license. I'm kind of following these steps here. So there's plenty of driver education courses. Your school might offer them. You can also, there's a lot of local driver's education courses. You can do it with the DMV. And so at the end of this, I'll provide some resources about where you can find that. There's a road test guide. It's recommended that you read the entire Pennsylvania Department of Transportation's driver's manual. And then with the road test, if you fail the road test, you have to wait at least 1 day to retake it if you are older than 18, or if you're under 18, you need to wait at least 7 days. So you can't retake it immediately that same day. You either have to wait 1 day or wait 7 days. And then you have 3 attempts to take the road test. If you fail 3 times, then you'll be asked to apply for the learner's permit extension. And so that'll require you to do some more practice, get some more hours behind the wheel with an adult that's 21 years or older. Questions here. And so these are the 3 steps to get your driver's license. You need to do one before you do the other. So Talia, are these 3 steps new? Not that I'm aware of. I think this has been pretty standard. Did you get other information, or do you have, are the steps different that you know? Yeah, these are the three standard. The middle one she didn't do. And that might be an age thing. And so I think you must be a certain age to kind of skip that middle step. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. As a teen, you need to go through these steps. If you're 16 or 17, you need to go through these three steps. I believe if you're over 21, you can skip that junior driver's license, but everyone needs to have a permit in order to get to their unrestricted. Yeah, I think I did too, Mr. Kevin. And my learner's permit, and then when I turned 17, I got the unrestricted. So these are the three steps, unless you're older. But I actually have some practice test questions for us. I've got 5 questions. These are pulled from the Pennsylvania Driver's Manual. The picture on the side is what the actual manual looks like. And so we can do this. We can do it in the chat. You can throw in your answer, and then we'll go over the right and wrong answers. So this first question, if an arrow is flashing yellow, you must come to a complete stop and wait for it to turn green. Is that true or false? Maya says false. What do other folks think? False. Maya, can you tell me why you think it's false?
Because I'm just thinking about whenever I see a yellow arrow flashing, it's usually for like to tell you where to go, and not as like a traffic light.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there can be a few different kind of flashing yellow lights. If you're looking at a traffic light, it might have the yellow flashing arrow for when you can turn left, but there's also road signs that also kind of flash yellow and point you in certain directions. Those ones are much bigger on like the side of highways. If they're doing construction or something, they might tell you to go around or switch lanes. But this question is asking about the traffic stop. And so you're right that the answer is false. When you see a flashing yellow light, it means you yield to oncoming traffic. And what yield means is you kind of slow down, make sure there isn't, if you're going left and there might be someone else coming a different way. And so just making sure that you're yielding to the right of way of traffic. It's hard to, you're facing the opposite way of me, so my hand motions are meaningless. But with a flashing yellow light, it means you yield to oncoming traffic, and then when it's safe to do so, you can turn. Question 2. So you can pass on a road with a solid yellow line. And so if you're on a 2-lane road and there's a solid yellow line in the middle, can you pass over that? True or false? Talia says false. Talia, do you want to come off mic or say in the chat why you think it's false?
I think it's false because when you like passing, like when you're driving and it's like a double yellow line, you can't go over it because that's the opposite traffic going. So that's why I think it's false.
Yep.
Plus I took the pre-test and it said something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah. So you're right. The answer is false. You cannot pass when a road line is solid. You can only pass when the line is like a dotted line or striped. And so you may see on a 2-lane road where traffic is going one way and traffic is coming the other way, and there's 2 lines, but there might be a solid line and a dotted line next to each other. And that means that if you're on the side of the dotted line, you can pass and go around. And so there's some highways or some roadways where you can kind of go around traffic in that sense. So solid line, you can never pass over, and a dotted line, you can pass over when it's safe to pass. Obviously, if there's traffic coming at you and you're going over the dotted line, that won't be good, but doing so when it's safe to pass. So question 3, which of these is not one of the 3 main categories of distracted driving? Visual, audible, manual, or cognitive? Of distracted driving. So that means that obviously something is distracting you from focusing on the road and driving. So which one of these is not one of the 3 main categories of distracted driving? Anyone have a guess? Audible. So Talia, cognitive is like anything that might take your thoughts away from driving. If maybe you're thinking about something like really heavily or intensely, or if something just happened that was really like upsetting maybe to you, that might affect your cognitive ability to drive. And so Maya, you are correct. Audible is not one of the 3 main categories of distracted driving. While sounds, so audible is sounds, and while sounds can sometimes create a distraction, we listen to music while we drive, or we might listen to the radio, and so that's those are sounds that won't necessarily distract you, and so audible is not one of the 3 categories. And so the main categories are visual, that's anything that might take your eyes off the road. I've definitely seen people that are like watching something on their phone while they're driving, which just terrifies me. Like, how are you watching like a TV show while you're driving? That's definitely a distraction. Manual, that means anything that takes your hands off the steering wheel. Like it's not, you shouldn't really eat and drive. That takes your hands off the wheel. And then cognitive, anything that takes your thoughts away from driving. I know it's very often that these rules are broken. You'll see in a lot of cars that and that cell phones too. And so texting, that that's visual and manual and cognitive all in one. You're thinking about your text, you've got your phone in your hand, so your hands are off the wheel, you're looking at your phone. Yeah. So do not text and drive. Right. So number 4, in order to keep a safe amount of space between you and the driver in front of you, you should follow the 2-second rule, 3-second rule, 4-second rule, or 5-second rule. And that's like the following distance. And so if you're imagining the car in front of you passes the gas station, are you 2 seconds behind them also passing the gas station, or are you 5 seconds behind them passing the gas station? This is what they call like following distance. So mine said 3 seconds. Anyone else have a guess? So it's actually 4 seconds.
4-second rule?
Yes, Talia, exactly. So 4 seconds in order to safely follow another driver, you shouldn't pass any object within 4 seconds of the car in front of you. So the car in front of you passes the gas station, 4 seconds later, you should be passing the gas station. And that's just to make sure that there's enough space between you and that other car. If that other car slams to a stop on their brakes, 4 seconds should allow you enough time to also stop. But if you're 2 seconds behind them, that's how we get into like fender benders and crashes like that. And so, yeah, in case of an emergency, you won't be able to stop safely. And also because it's hard to see in front of that other car and like 2 cars ahead, you can't really see past the car that's in front of you. And so you don't know what 2 cars ahead of you is doing. So just keeping that distance. All right, this is our last practice question. So when you need to turn at an intersection, remember an intersection is like that, it intersects. When you need to turn at an intersection, you should follow the right, left, right rule. And so this is thinking about the directions that you're looking. If you come to a stop sign and you want to go forward, are you looking right, then left, then right? Is that true or false? Talia says false, false. You are both correct. So when turning at an intersection or when you're just going straight, yep, Talia, the left, right, left rule. So that means you look left, then you look right, and then left again once more before going. And that's just to make sure that there's nothing coming at you and double checking. Yeah, and so some resources, these are specific to Pennsylvania. I can share these in the chat. Nope, I can't share them in the chat. I will follow up with folks to share these links. So the DOT handbook, that's the manual that has all of PA's driving rules and regulations. There's a free practice test. And so there's a couple different sites where you can do that at. And then third-party licensed skills testing services. And so these 3 are located in Philly, and you can seek out their services to complete the driver education course. And so they'll also take you on the road. They'll help you learn how to drive. I think in New Jersey, I did a third-party driver's school. Because my parents did not want to teach me how to drive. I'm gonna stop sharing so I can get those links in the chat. But does anyone have any questions?
Does anyone know if it costs money to get your learner's permit?
Yes, there are fees. I think it's for the learner's permit. $33 or something?
It says, let's see, $35.50.
$35.50, yeah.
Although that might not be correct. Hold on.
So I just threw in the chat links to the manual, link to 2 practice test sites, and then the 3 Philly specific driving schools. Thank you, Mr. Alex. Anyone have any questions? Are you all actively in the process of getting your driver's license, or are you gonna try after, how old are you all? This is just information I have for the future once you do turn 16.
I'm not actively trying to get it, but I have gotten my physical, so I want to try and get my learner's permit by the end of the summer.
Cool. Good luck.
Thank you.
What about you, Talia? Where are you in the process? I think you're doing some studying, right? Been doing a couple practice tests. Sean, did you have any questions? No? Mr. Alex or Mr. Kevin, do you have any words of wisdom on driving?
I got my license in Tennessee, in like kind of a big suburban city, and I was very anxious about driving, which I think is healthy and maybe even, I mean, it's very safe to be careful, but just like riding a bike, everything gets a little more comfortable. Driving around in Philadelphia, I think I could see where it would be a little challenging to learn how to drive around here because everything's very tight and people drive very fast, but don't be too nervous, because having a car is very, very normal for millions of people. They drive just like riding a bike. You get used to it, and it becomes a normal part of your life.
Thank you for sharing that, Alex. Any wise words, Mr. Kevin?
Definitely pay attention to the signs, because sometimes it can be a little tricky to see because there's a lot of signs sometimes, but you want to make sure that you're following what the signs are telling you on the street.
Philly's got a lot of one ways to navigate, and sometimes the one way signs are twisted the other way. So just look out for that.
Oh, and watch out for people on bikes. Make sure to be careful driving around people who are riding a bike.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's tricky for people who are on bikes to navigate through some of these roads. So if you're driving in a car, you just want to be careful and make sure that they stay safe.
Yeah, they might not always see you, but bikes always have the right of way, even if they're not going the right way with traffic. They still always have the right of way. People walking always have the right of way. And so just making sure that you're looking around you. Maya, thanks for sharing that that app, BMV Genie. Nice. Awesome. Well, if no one has any other questions, this was quick, but I can also follow up with the PowerPoint slides as well. But thanks for joining.
Thanks for hosting, Ms. Millie.
Yeah.